My name is Lara Kudaisi. I help people heal from emotional pain, trauma, childhood dysfunctions for a happily ever after. My story in a nutshell is that I healed from having a child at 19, 14 heartbreaks, 15 abortions, and a divorce. I have created a program titled How They Heal. Today we're talking about something very terrible. Yeah, something that eats, the society deeply like a cancer. And that is rape. It's a very terrible thing that happens to people and it alters their life forever. But I'm not going to be talking about it alone. I brought somebody here who is a rape survivors advocate. And what she does is to help get justice for victims and survivors of sexual violence. So guys, please join me as I welcome and introduce Anthonia Ojenegbon. Welcome, Anthonia.
Thank you so much, Lara.
Wow, I'm so excited that you're here today.
I am too.
And I have like a zillion questions to ask you.
Okay, fire.
Yeah, so firstly, let's talk about rape. People talk about rape as if, it has now become something common or something that people don't talk about. You understand? What is your own perspective about rape? When somebody gets raped, what should they do?
Okay, first of all, rape is when you have unconsented sex with somebody.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's like the definition of it.
Yes, we need to establish the word consent.
Okay.
If you have sex with someone without their consent, that's rape.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be forceful or...
If you coerce the person.
Okay.
Yes, if you coerce that person, if you are in a position to help someone and you use your position to get sex from the person.
Okay, so are you saying a husband can rape a wife or a wife can rape a husband?
A husband can rape a wife and a wife can also rape a husband, but marital rape is not recognized in the Constitution of Nigeria. Oh. So that's a different ballgame.
In the Constitution?
Yes, it's not recognized. There's nothing like, yes. Nigeria. Because it's believed that when you agree to marry the person, all the conjugal rights comes with the agreement. Wow. Yes.
Let's not even go into all of that.
Yes, it's a topic on its own.
It's a topic, don't worry. I promise to discuss it someday on this program.
Yes.
Okay, but let's talk about you. I know your story, a little bit of your story. You've been through rape and stuff, but, a lot of our viewers don't know about it. So let's just walk us through it. Like, what really happened? When did it start and all of that? Okay.
I came to Lagos to stay with my uncle because my parents could not afford to take care of us. I'm the first of 9 children.
Okay.
So I was sexually molested by my uncle. You do not call it rape when it happens to a minor. Okay. It's called child defilement if the person is below the age of 18.
Wow.
Yes, it's defilement.
Okay.
So if the person is above 18, that is when you say rape.
Rape, okay.
Yes.
So how old were you when it happened?
I was 12.
Okay, so you were defiled. It was child defilement.
By my uncle, yes. My father's brother.
Okay.
Yes, and he went on for some time because he had told me that if I tell anyone, he was going to kill me. Oh. Yes, and he also told me that my mother was not going to believe me. Now, my father died in the process, so he stood by my mom when my dad died. You know all the things they do in the village, like my dad was very young, my father was 46 and my mother was 37. So the villagers said my mother killed my father. So the water they used to bath my father's corpse was brought for my mother to drink, but my uncle insisted that she shouldn't drink it. Okay,
so then, he was like a support system and a defender for your mom.
Yes, he's a very nice man, which brings us to another point that abusers are usually people we know, people we trust, people we can vouch for. Now, sometimes a child will tell the mother, Uncle so-so-so is doing this to me. The mother cannot wrap it around her head. My mother could not believe. My mother actually told me that God was going to judge me for trying to implicate an innocent man.
No, oh my God, your mother actually said that?
Yes, my mother said that.
At what point did you tell your mom? Was it like the first time, the second time?
No,
or over the...
I was living with my uncle.
Okay.
My mother was in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
So my mother came to Lagos.
Okay.
My mother is a woman's leader in a church.
Okay.
So she came for a leader's retreat in Lagos. So I told her, she didn't believe me. Now it took my mother 18 years to believe me. I was already married and I had children before my mother believed me. And my mother believed me because I began to talk publicly. So I was going to speak at a conference in Ekiti. And my mother was in my house. So she said, what are you going to do in Ekiti? Then I told her. She said, what are you going to tell them? I said, my story. She said, you will tell them your uncle did this thing to you. I now said, yes. And my mother looked at me and said, Anthonia, this thing you've been saying for years, are you really serious? I said, yes, Mama. So my mother broke down. She began to cry and she apologized.
What did she apologize for though?
For not believing me. Because one of the reasons why it was difficult for me to heal was because my mother did not believe me. My uncle had told me that my mother would not believe me.
When your mother apologized to you at that instant, how did that make you feel? What did that do to you?
I felt good that finally my mother has believed me.
Even though you were how old at the time? That's like, did you say 18 years?
I was already in my 30s, yes. Yes. So I'd already forgiven my mother because I felt that my mother too was a child bride. She actually had me at 15. So I just said to myself, what does a 15-year-old know? A child giving birth to a child.
And actually raising
children. Because at 37, my mother had 9 children and my father had died.
Oh my God.
She was actually pregnant for the 9th child when my father died. So she's been through a lot on her own. So I had to forgive her.
Yes.
Because for years I felt if only you had believed me. Because when the abuse was going on, my mother actually came to Lagos. And that day, I just told my uncle's wife that I needed sanitary towel. And my mother said, this one done the C period. And my uncle's wife said, yes, so Anthonia is menstruating now. And they started making fun of me. You know, at that point, my uncle looked at me and gave me a side eye. And the eye meant to me, I told you. Nobody is going to believe you.
Okay, so what did the rape do to you?
What did it do to me? It did a lot to me. First of all, it stole every sense of self-worth from me. It stole my self-esteem. I felt that I was useless. You know, I felt that I wasn't worth it. Like, I felt hopeless and I actually felt like ending my life. You know, by the time my uncle stopped, it was actually a pastor that helped me to stop my uncle. Now, I never knew that a Christian child could be defiled. I thought we were immune, you know. So when I went to church that day, I had to rededicate my life because I'm a Christian. So I had to rededicate my life to Christ. And the pastor said he needed to see all the newcomers after the service. So after the service, he saw all of us. And as we were about to leave his office, he said, Anthonia, you have something to tell me. Yes, I'd never seen
like
this.
You had never seen the pastor.
Never seen this man before. So I sat down and he said, he shut the door. And he said, you have something to tell me? I said, I don't have anything to tell you, sir. He said, you want to tell me your uncle is sexually molesting you and you don't know what to do?
I'm sorry?
Yes. He said it.
So what did you think happened? He
immediately,
saw it in his spirit?
I don't know. I can never explain, but he told me. Immediately he told me that thing. I just went on my knees and I started crying. I started wailing because for me, that was the first time an adult would come to my rescue.
And
that was the first time an
you.
adult would even see that this girl has been crying for help. And you know, in 1992, we didn't have the kind of awareness we have today.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about speaking out about sexual abuse. Nobody was telling us that if an adult touches you in a way you're not comfortable with, run to another adult, start screaming until you get help. Nobody told us that if your uncle pulls your pants in the night and defiles you before daybreak, you should look for an adult to cry to. Nobody told us anything. Then the hush-hush was so much, you know. So when he said that, I felt that God had come down to come and help me.
You.
So I cried. He gave me time to cry. After crying, he gave me an handkerchief and he said, Anthonia, sit down because it's going to happen tonight. Then he said, do you want it to happen? I said, no, sir. He said, do you want it to stop? I said, yes. Then he asked the question. He said, have you shouted before when your uncle comes? I said, no. So he now said, you see, this night you are going to shout. You will shout until your uncle's wife wakes up. So because my dad had died that period, the pastor said, when you start shouting and your uncle's wife wake up, just pretend like you're having a bad dream. So that was exactly what I did. So that night, immediately my uncle raised my dress up.
Which is how many years after he has been doing it?
92, 98.
Wow, 6 years.
Immediately he raised my dress up, I started shouting. As I shouted, the wife woke up. Anthonia, what's happened? I started in a bad dream.
So when you shouted, what happened? He ran out or
Yes,
what?
he ran away. So, of course, you know, the place is always dark. So he ran away and my uncle's wife, Anthonia, what's happened? I started in a bad dream. So she just assumed I was having a nightmare about my dad. So the following morning, my uncle just looked at me from my head to my toe. He hissed.
He has gotten the message.
And he walked away. That was the end of the physical abuse. But you see, by that time, the mental damage had been done.
We're still going to go into that, don't worry. But let me ask you, between that 6 years, you never shouted or you never raised alarm or anything? Is it because, because I hear a lot of people, is it because you were a child, you were afraid? Did he tell you not to
I was afraid, and I did not actually know that I could cry for help.
Okay.
I never knew that
But you knew what he was doing was wrong. You knew.
I knew what he was doing was wrong, but I did not know how to help myself.
Okay.
Then I had a friend who was also going through that, and she told me that we couldn't talk because nobody would believe us. Yes.
Okay.
So if I know what I know now, that's why the zeal with which I attack this thing now is like...
So that's where the advocacy thing,
Yes,
comes in.
immediately I knew that there was power in the voice, that you could talk, you could speak out, and you will stop this thing. I decided that I would never be silent again because I was silenced for 6 years.
Wow.
And I'm in my 40s now. I'm still paying for that. I never knew that healing was possible. You see, when people see the way I shout on social media, if you don't know the story behind anybody's action, I shout because it took so much away from me. Yes, that even if I start today, I may not be able to catch up.
Okay,
so I do not want another girl.
I'm sorry for keep cutting you. I really want to know what were those things he stole from you. But guys, just chill. We'll talk about that after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Before we went on break, we were talking to Anthonia, and she was telling us, all that happened to her. And we were talking about the mental damage or all the things that this rape or child defilement, did to her. So, Anthonia, we talked about the mental damage it did to you, especially as regards intelligence and all of that. But aside from that, what else did it do to you? Okay,
it took some time before it began to affect my health. So first of all, I had a lot of low self-esteem issues. I had a lot of esteem issues. I just felt that I wasn't good enough.
Okay, so where was this low self-esteem playing out?
It was playing out in the fact that every available guy that I saw, I just wanted to get married. Now, I wanted to get married for a very wrong reason, which I will say here. I wanted to get married because I wanted to kill the guy. I wanted the guy to pay for what my uncle did to me.
You wanted to kill the guy that you would marry?
Yes, I wanted to kill the guy that I would marry. Then I would end up in Kirikiri, which was my life ambition.
So did you thought that the guy, was responsible for what you're...
He was going to pay.
Or guys, generally,
no, the person I will marry was going to pay for the sin of my uncle because he's also a man. So
you just didn't have low self-esteem alone, you were also angry.
Yes,
and you wanted revenge.
I was very, very angry, very angry. I'd planned my life. I wasn't going to have children. I was going to be a surrogate mom. So I would sell those children, then finally marry the unfortunate person that would be unfortunate to marry me. Then I will kill him, and I will go to jail.
So did that happen? Because you're not in jail.
It didn't happen because God saw my mind and he knew that this girl was on a mission to destroy herself. So the first thing he did...
Because of what somebody else did that she had no control over.
Yes. So the first thing he did was Give me a husband who was not ready to divorce me. Give me a husband who, when I begin to throw tantrums, he's just wondering, what's in the worry this one? Give me a husband that the day I decide I will lock you out of the house, he's not even going to answer me. He will sit in front of the door till I'm ready to open the door. He gave me a husband that the day I decide I'm not cooking, he's going to order for food, or he will go and buy the food. Call me from where he's buying the food and ask me, what do you want?
Oh my God. So because all of this was a result of all the things that had happened.
So I would treat him badly. And my husband told me he used to just wonder that, what's wrong with this girl? Yes. Gave me a husband that on the night of the wedding, the day we got married, I didn't allow him to touch me because I told him we should live like brother and sister, and he agreed. So the day he told me he wanted to marry me, now, let me tell you one of the things that plays out. The mental damage you can't see. You can't place your hand on the emotional damage. Yes. Or physically you're okay. So I was this Christian girl going to church. I was a worker in church. I used to sing in the camp. So I was in the big choir, where the big girls in church. So pastor was looking for a wife for his friend. His friend was looking for a wife. And Pastor Bimbo of blessed memory had told the guy that if you don't look for a wife, we will look for a wife for you. So he visits his friend, who is my pastor, and I come to greet my pastor, and pastor says, Tony, I meet my childhood friend. So I didn't know that he was looking for a wife. But I was excited that, I'm meeting my pastor's childhood friend. So my pastor's father died. Instead of me to follow church bus, they now said, follow Sylvester and come to the village. I didn't know what they were doing. So of course, as you can see, I can talk. We spoke from here till we got to Edo State. I was talking, papa. Anyway, we became friends, and the guy was a nice guy. So I was going to celebrate my 24th birthday, and I invited him. As we were just talking, he now told me, can you do me a favor? And I said, what is this? He said, do me the favor of marrying me. And I just got up like, are you joking?
On your 21st birthday.
And I'm like, are you joking? I said, in my church, you don't behave like that. You go and talk to my pastor. You don't talk to me. Anyway, immediately he said he wanted to marry me. Remember, I've been trying to marry since.
Yeah, your lifelong goal.
I've been trying to marry. Immediately he said he was going to marry me. I looked at him. I said, this one, I can deal with this guy. Yes, he's a very calm person. I can deal with this one. This one, I can kill him easily. Those were the thoughts in my mind. So immediately I got home that day, it was a Sunday. I just told my uncle's wife that I found the husband. Now, the story I'm going to tell you now will sound weird, but I tell you this before God, it is the truth. As I told my uncle's wife I found the husband, we picked a date. I picked a date. I printed the card. And they had not done introduction.
On your own,
without consult. I don't talk to anybody. I don't consult anybody. So when my uncle saw the card, he now said, but they've not done introduction. Immediately, I called Sylvester. I said, bring your family to come and see my uncle. So by the time his family was coming, I've distributed the card. I've gone to tell them in church. We started marriage counseling in church. Now, I think 2 weeks to the time, they now said somebody was getting married. They couldn't give us the time. I called him. I said, please take this wedding to your church. Let's do it. Yes, I wedded in my husband's church.
You were
I just wanted to leave the house. So the first day I went to see Pastor Bimbo. Pastor Bimbo gave me 100,000 naira. I just went home and I said to my uncle's wife, Pastor Bimbo say, make I give you the money when I use cook. So by this time, I told everybody I was getting married. And my husband said he wanted to marry, so he was like, okay, this girl is doing the thing fast. But he didn't know my plan.
Your own intention.
Now I was coming with so much baggage. And he's an only child. I looked, I said, he's an only child. It'd be very easy for me to dispose this guy off. And he was doing all the loving. Now, I didn't love him when I married him. I didn't love him. I agreed to love him over the years. So we got married. On that day of the wedding, I said my uncle was not going to give me out. Now, my mother is very calm, not a stubborn person. So my mother did not know what to do. The family kept begging me, and I said no. And I'm not going to give you.
That was on the day of the wedding.
I said I'm not going to give you. I'd been saying it. They thought I was joking. So I said I'm not going to give him the honor of holding my hand. So inside the church, as I walked into church, my brother brought food for the ministers. And I looked at my husband's best man and I said to him, Brother Larry, please, can you borrow me your suits? Before he said yes, I removed the jacket.
Calm down.
Yes, I removed the jacket and I put the jacket of my brother. My brother was wearing slippers and t-shirts.
Okay.
I have the pictures. I would have brought them for you to see.
Wow.
So I put the jacket on my brother and I looked at my brother straight into his eyes. I said, Christian, take my hand, go and give it to the pastor.
On your wedding day?
On my wedding day in church. So he took my hand and he gave my hand to pastor. And pastor was like, oh, obviously this is not your dad. That's not my problem. After the reception, it didn't occur to me that we were going to have sex when we get home. I didn't remember.
Because your plan
Yes.
was to marry him, kill him.
Yes. So it didn't occur to me that anything was going to happen. So when we got home, we went to a pastor's place. Sylvester just removed his jacket. Immediately he took off the jacket. My head just did bang, 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 bang. I started having flashbacks. Immediately I knew, oh my God, I'm going to see a penis tonight. I was so scared. And I told him to sit down, that I needed to talk to him. I said, Pastor, sir, please, sit down, sir.
You were calling him sir?
I was calling him sir. I said, sir, please, sit down, sir. So when he sat down, I said, sir, can you do me a favor? He said, no, Tonya, call me my first name. That's why I started calling him Sylvester. So I said, sir, can you please do me a favor? He said, anything. I said, can we live like brother and sister? And without even thinking, he just said, okay, that's fine if that's what you want.
But do you think he understood what
he
you
didn't
meant?
understand what I was saying. So I said, okay, he now said, okay, then we slept. He didn't touch me, nada. The following day, he told me that when I told him that, immediately he knew that I needed counseling. A few days after our wedding, went to his friend's place, he spoke to me. So we're living like brother and sister for 3 months. Then one night he just said, Tonya, please, I'm not your brother. I said, but
In
you
3
agreed.
months.
Yes, I said, but
Anthonia,
you agreed.
Anthonia.
Yes.
In 3 months.
I said, but you agreed. You agreed that we should live like brother and sister. He said, but I'm not your brother. I said, but you agreed. So we now went to talk to another pastor. They now begged me. They made food for me. I ate. Then I gave them my rules and my regulation. I said, okay, so you put off the lights. You will not hug me. You will not tell me you love me. You will not call me darling. Till today, my husband calls me Tonya. I don't like pet's name because my uncle used to call me baby.
So that's like an
Sweetheart,
anchor for
yes.
you.
So I didn't
when
want
a
any
man calls you
endearment.
that, he takes you back.
Yes. So he calls me Tonya. So I said, you will call me, you will not say I love you. Then when we are having that sex, you're not going to make a sound. You won't say anything. Then when we're done, before you put off the light, you will tie your towel. I do not want to see the penis. He said, okay. The night of the wedding.
And nobody asked why all of this rule?
No, he knew why.
Okay,
I told him I had flashback. So this is the bed. I sleep by this side. He sleeps by this side. So there's no meeting point. If you roll reach here. Because the bed is very big.
Till now, 17 years
It took me
after.
12 years. It took me 12 years to be able to stand naked before my husband.
Which brings us to that fact that this is the damage that sexual abuse does.
Yes. I've gone to the labor room 3 times and my husband went with me. He was there from the beginning till the end because I told him, I can't stay naked in front of another man. I can't. When I was going to have my first child, as I sat with the doctor and they said I was already dilating, I didn't know what that meant. Then I saw the doctor wear his gloves, then he just did his hand like this.
You knew what he wanted to do?
No, I didn't know. I now asked him, I said, Dr. Bemudia, what do you want to do? He now said, I want to check you. I said, and what does that mean? He said, I want to check your vagina. I said, with what? He said, with this hand. I said, I just jumped up from that bed. You know that bed in the doctor's office? I ran out, I was shouting, Oseme! Dr. Bemudia said, won't put his hand for my vagina. So my husband, he too, he was not panicking. Tonya, so what thing we go do? I said, he's not going to do it, He's not going to do it.
Even with your labor pain?
Yes. So my husband now had to call a doctor that, what does it mean to be dilated and you want to use your hand to check?
So even whilst you were pregnant, you didn't know all of these things?
No, I didn't.
Nobody told you anything
they won't tell
during
you,
the antenatal?
During antenatal, they won't tell you they will do
They
this
will just
thing now.
imagine that you know all of these things.
So the doctor now spoke to my husband that they should calm me down, that it's normal. Okay. So I said, okay, but you must be there. I said, no, I can't. Because the guy is even huge like my uncle. I said, Dr. Bemudia is my uncle.
Okay, so anytime you see anybody that
like
is
my uncle,
huge like your uncle,
any huge man that comes from Edo State. So my husband, he now came. So he held my hand, held me. So all through the time in the labor room, he will be there. When I want to push the baby, I always tell him, I want you to stay in front of me. I don't want to see the doctor. I want to see you.
And all of this because...
Yes, all of this. All this time, I had not healed. I had not healed.
So, how did you heal from all of this?
I started following Dr. Kadri online. One day, she wrote about severe depression, getting help when you are suicidal. It hit home that this is the thing that is doing me now. This is what is. So I took down her contacts. I didn't call her. Then I became suicidal. The first time I bought the medication and I took my children, I went to church and then asked my husband that morning, I said, is suicide a sin? He said, yes. Then he turned and he said, who wants to commit suicide? I said, nobody. But I bought the medication. Then I called my sister and I said to my sister that if anything happened to me, please help me take care of my children. When I became suicidal the second time, I didn't want to die because my children were now growing up. But this time around, I had Dr. Kadri's number.
So you sought help?
Yes, I sought help. Like, I literally checked myself into a mental health facility and I was admitted there for weeks and I was treated there. So that was how the journey to healing started. Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank God for healing.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So that necessitated, it helped you forgive your uncle?
Yes, because I realized that unforgiveness is like you carrying poison to give your enemy, but you're drinking it. So I had to let go because all of this began to affect my health. Been hypertensive for 15 years. I take medication every day. I have anxiety, panic attacks. So I have to take medications to function. And my kidneys were now at the borderline. Wow. Yes, my kidneys were now at the borderline. So I woke up sometime in June. As I opened my eyes, I couldn't get up from bed. So from my neck to my waist, I couldn't move. The pain, intense pain. Anyway, cut a long story short, the first orthopedic surgeon I saw, as he put his hand on my shoulder, now I can't explain that medically. I can't explain it. So he just said, madam, what's going on here? So much trauma on your shoulders. And my husband and I, we looked at ourselves. He said, the trauma has affected your nerves so much. So he now said, did you go through parental neglect, child abuse, or childhood sexual abuse? I was like, what's happened? So I was shocked. I said child sexual abuse. Wow. So now I have issues with my neck bone, and I'm wondering
how that correlates.
How the correlation, for no fault of mine, I was sleeping that day when somebody came to raise my dress, and now I'm paying for all of this. But you see,
your health,
with my health,
and your,
I don't hold him in any unforgiveness again. I'm just trying to get better, now for myself. Now I'm getting all the help I want for my own self.
Thank you so much,
yes.
Anthonia.
And I want to say this to any survivor out there. The abuse was not your fault. But you see, it is your responsibility to get help so that you can heal. A lot of women are suffering from the emotional effects of sexual abuse, which was never their fault and is affecting their health. I know what I'm talking about. We need to get help. We need to get help to get healing so that we can be well, so that we can live our lives again. You can actually live a normal life again if you heal. So please, if you've been through any form of sexual violence and you have not, please seek help and get healing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthonia. Thank you so much for coming. I hope when we call you again, you'll come back.
Anytime, anything for you, Lara.
Thank you so much. We've heard Anthonia's story, how she healed from child sexual abuse, that took a lot of things from her. But she has been able to tell you that you can heal. And I also am telling you that you can heal from pain, you can heal from trauma, any trauma whatsoever that you have. All you need is just to seek help. And I would like to leave you with this. It is never too late to live happily ever after. Thank you so much. Bye for now.